Hello again. Something that people ask me about a lot is, what is the one most important thing I can do to become better with emotions? And I actually have an answer, which there's 4 things you can do, but there is one that is the most important. In my book, The Art of Empathy, I talk about 4 pathways to emotional genius, or to emotional skill if you don't feel like you can be a genius right now. The most important one of the 4 is what I call unvalencing. Now that's kind of a $25 word, but in the research, in the psychological research, emotions are valenced negatively or positively, and emotions are valenced as pro-social or antisocial, right? So you have emotions that are good and emotions that are bad. I strongly disagree. I see the emotions as an entire system that is in itself intelligent. Emotions have evolved over millions of years to help us become socially successful. And each emotion is incredibly important. You can't throw one out. None of them can do the job of the others, and each one has its own particular gifts and skills that it brings you. Unvalencing the emotions means when you hear an emotion called negative, you don't listen. When you hear an emotion called positive, you don't listen. You walk around in the world going la 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 la. But basically, by unvalencing emotions, you open up your emotional life so that you can begin hearing from emotions that other people don't even want to talk about, such as shame. Many people despise and hate shame. It is possibly one of the most important emotions you have if you can learn how to work with it. We all know that shame can be, overwhelming, but that is not the nature of shame. Shame is only that way when we don't know how to work with it. When you know how to work with it, shame will be your best bud. I mean, it will tell you things like, are you sure you want to do that right now? Are you sure you need that 12th cookie? And you'll be like, shut up, shame. But that's its job. It's watching out for you and making sure that your behavior is, on track, and that you're going to be safe in your social situation, that you're going to treat people well, right? Shame is incredibly important. And in fact, in The Art of Empathy, I point out that you can't develop empathy if you don't have shame, because you don't care about others. You don't care how you come across and how they receive what you've done. So shame is incredibly important. It is not negative. It is not antisocial. It is an incredibly social emotion. So unvalencing the emotions is the first and most important thing you can do. In the 4 pathways to emotional genius, that's like, bing, if you can do that, you're well on your way. Okay? We'll talk more about this in future videos, but for right now, unvalence your emotions. The second one is to learn to channel your emotions. And for most people, there are 2 pretty bad choices with emotions. One is to repress them. Boom, they're gone. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's put it there and shove it under the rug. So the gifts that emotion brings, the intelligence that emotion brings, it's gone. You don't have it. You don't have access to it. That is not a good option. Sometimes it's important to repress emotions. For instance, if you are suddenly come over with rage and you're with a baby, you repress that emotion. You go down, regulate, and manage it, right? Because nobody deserves to have your rage expressed at them, unless they're physically trying to kill you, and then I'm like, yeah, go have some rage, right? But there are times when you need to repress certain emotions because it is not healthy for you to express them, right? But generally, repression is not a good idea. The other opposite side of this, and as you can see, here's expression, here's repression. There's a middle place, and I'll get to it. It's called channeling. But with expression, you pretty much take an emotion and you just throw it up on someone else. So let's say it's anger. You might go like, screw you, right? So, okay, that happened, but now you've got a damaged relationship, and you look a little bit like an untrained person, right? You look like you don't have skills, which is true. So with channeling, you're not throwing the emotion away with repression. You're not throwing the emotion away with expression. You are channeling it in the way that it needs to go. And to understand each emotion is to understand how to channel them. right? Every emotion has a very specific thing that it came to do and very specific gifts it came to give you. Learning to channel it means you're working with your emotions. You're not throwing them away in either direction. So channeling is awesome. The third thing is to bring nuance into your understanding of emotions. So you learn that emotions arise at a very soft level. Like, let me show you anger. Like, here's really soft anger. Right? It's a little bit of sarcasm in it. Here's a more open anger. Really? Right? Here's intense anger. I'm gonna get you. Or whatever. Somehow I throw these hands up when I'm really angry. No, that never happens. So each emotion has different levels of intensity. Understanding how to identify emotions at different levels of intensity just makes you, plainly more emotionally intelligent and more emotionally skilled and aware. So we've got so far, the first three are unvalence the emotions, channel the emotions, and understand nuance, that there are many different levels of emotion for each emotion. The fourth one is learn to identify mixed emotions. Mixed emotions are emotions that arise at the same time. So for instance, let's say you're 6 years old and you're at your friend's birthday party and your friend gets a mountain of presents. So you might feel excitement, you might feel some sadness because your present was little. You might feel a little bit of shame because everybody else's presents were big. You might also feel some jealousy and envy because that kid got all these presents. How did this even happen, right? So it is normal to feel a number of emotions at the same time. But there's a problem in the English language, which is we only have 3 words in the English language that describe emotions in the way they naturally appear. So English makes it a problem for us to understand emotions in the way they actually work. What is that about, English? So the 3 mixed emotions words are bittersweet, which is a sadness and a happiness, right? But it's also a flavor, so I don't even know if we count that English. Gloating, which is kind of a savage glee, putting down the person that you have won and they have lost, and you're like, ha! So there's kind of a joy and happiness and anger and some shaming. There's a lot going on in gloating. The other one is nostalgia, which is a current sadness about a past happiness, right? So I'm sad now thinking about the fun I had in the past. There's a fourth one that I think is hilarious if you understand valencing. So we don't want to valence emotions. We don't want to say this one's valenced positively and this one's valenced negatively. There's a word in English called ambivalence, and it's ambivalence. What the word means is you're feeling 2 emotions. One is negative and one is positive, and you can't decide which one is true. I mean, English even tells us in the word ambivalence that if we feel 2 emotions, it's too many, and our entire brain is going to go offline, and we're just going to lay down on the ground and lose all capacity for rational thought. English, I'm telling you what. So the 4 pathways to emotional genius are: unvalence your emotions, please. Let them free. Learn to channel your emotions. Learn to take that middle path. Learn about emotional nuance. Begin to understand emotions at many different levels of activation and appearance. And learn to identify mixed emotions. It's how they work. Each emotion has intelligence and skills that it brings you. Each emotion arises for a very specific reason, and in some situations you need more than one emotion. It's just clear, right? Except for English. So go forth and enjoy your emotions. We'll talk more deeply about each of these pathways in future videos. But for right now, unvalence those emotions. They're your friends. There's no negative ones. There's no positive ones. They're all totally important. See you soon.